Commander Jake Morrison opened his eyes and immediately knew something was wrong. The hibernation pod hummed around him, but the sound was different, deeper, older. The glass cover slid open with a hiss that sounded tired, like a machine that had been working far too long. He sat up slowly, his muscles stiff. Around him, other pods were opening. People were waking up, confused and groggy. The ship's lights flickered, casting strange shadows across the hibernation bay. "Status report," Jake said into his comm device. Static answered him. Dr. Lisa Green stumbled out of her pod nearby, holding on to the metal frame for support. Her dark hair was tangled, and her eyes were wide with confusion. "Jake, what's happening? Why did we wake up?" "I don't know yet," he replied. "Let's get to the bridge." They made their way through the corridors of the horizon's edge. The ship felt wrong. The walls were covered in a thin layer of dust that shouldn't have been there. Some panels were dark. Others showed error messages in red text. Ryan Cole, their chief engineer, joined them at an intersection. He was already looking at a handheld scanner, his face growing pale. "Commander, we have a problem," Ryan said. "A big one." "Tell me," Jake ordered. "According to the ship's logs, we've been asleep for 868,000 years. Lisa laughed nervously. "That's impossible. We were supposed to sleep for 200 years, not—" "The quantum stasis field malfunctioned right after launch," Ryan interrupted. "It kept us alive but completely isolated from normal time. The automatic systems have been barely keeping us alive all this time." Jake felt his stomach drop. 868,000 years. Their families were gone. Their world was gone. Everything they knew had turned to dust while they slept. Amy Chen, their navigation officer, arrived at the bridge first. She was already working at her station when the others entered. "We're not where we're supposed to be," she said without looking up. "Earth's beacon is gone. I can't find Sol system at all." "What do you mean gone?" Lisa asked. "I mean it's not there. No signals, no markers, nothing." Amy pulled up a star map. "Everything has changed. The stars have moved. But there's something else. I'm picking up thousands of signals, artificial ones." Jake moved to stand beside her. The screen showed countless points of light, each one representing a signal source. "What are those?" "Ships, I think. Stations. Maybe entire civilizations." Amy zoomed in on the nearest cluster. "Whatever's out there, they're advanced. Really advanced." Ryan was working at another console, trying to repair the ship's communication systems. "I'm getting some of their transmissions now. It's all encrypted or in languages I've never seen before, but the patterns suggest there's a lot of traffic out there. We're talking about a busy, populated galaxy." "Can we translate any of it?" Jake asked. "Not yet, but I'm working on it." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the bridge. Amy's fingers flew across her controls. "We've been detected! Something big is approaching fast!" "Shields up," Jake commanded. "We don't have shields," Ryan reminded him. "Half our systems are offline." On the view screen, a massive structure appeared. It was bigger than 10 Earth cities combined, a twisted metal construct that seemed to defy physics. Light sparkled across its surface like stars. Smaller ships swarmed around it like insects. "It's a space station," Lisa whispered. "But who built it?" Before anyone could answer, their console lit up with an incoming transmission. The screen flickered and a face appeared. Except it wasn't a human face. The being looked like it was made of living crystal, with light pulsing through its transparent body. When it spoke, the words came through garbled at first, then suddenly clear. "Unknown vessel. You have entered collective space. Identify yourself immediately." Jake straightened his uniform and stepped forward. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of Earthship Horizon's Edge. We are a colony vessel from Earth, year 2000 AD. We've had a malfunction and—" The crystal being's expression changed. Other figures appeared behind it on the screen, all of them different species. One looked like a floating jellyfish. Another had 6 eyes and purple skin. They all stared at Jake with what looked like shock. "Earth?" the crystal being said. "That's impossible. Earth was destroyed over 800,000 years ago. The human species is extinct." "We're not extinct," Jake said firmly. "We're right here." "This is unprecedented," another alien said, this one with a voice like grinding metal. "We must bring them in for processing." "Processing?" Amy asked nervously. The crystal being's expression was hard to read, but its tone was cold. "All species in collective space must be evaluated and classified. Your ship will be escorted to Processing Station Omega-7. Do not resist. Any attempt to flee will be met with force." Before Jake could respond, the screen went dark. Outside, 3 massive ships had appeared around the horizon's edge. They were sleek and powerful, making their own ship look like an ancient relic. "What do we do?" Lisa asked. Jake looked at his crew. They were tired, scared, and completely out of their depth. They were 868,000 years out of time, surrounded by aliens who thought humans were extinct. Their ship was falling apart, and they had no weapons, no shields, and no way to run. "We comply," Jake said quietly. "For now. We need information. We need to understand what happened to Earth and what this galaxy has become." Ryan checked his scanner. "Commander, I'm reading 5,000 life signs on our ship. All the colonists survived hibernation." "Good," Jake said. "Wake the senior staff. Get everyone ready. We're about to meet our new neighbors." As the alien ships began to pull the horizon's edge toward the massive station, Jake stared out at the stars. They had left Earth to find a new home, to build a future for humanity. Instead, they had slept through the entire history of their species and woken up in a galaxy that had moved on without them. But they were still alive. They were still human. And Jake Morrison wasn't about to let anyone tell them they didn't belong here anymore. Processing Station Omega-7 was like nothing Jake had ever imagined. The facility was enormous, with corridors that stretched for miles and chambers filled with beings from 100 different worlds. Some walked on legs, others floated, and a few moved in ways that hurt to watch. The humans were separated into groups and led through endless halls. Guards surrounded them, tall, armored creatures that never spoke. Jake tried to keep track of where they were going, but after the 20th turn, he gave up. They were brought to a large holding area filled with other species. Most ignored the humans, but a few stared with open curiosity. Jake spotted Greg Palmer, their security chief, already trying to talk to some of the other prisoners. Greg was good at making friends, even with aliens, apparently. "Commander," Greg said, walking over, "I've been talking to some of these folks. This place is where they bring any species they find that doesn't fit their system. They test you, rank you, and then assign you a place in their society." "What kind of place?" Lisa asked. She had her medical scanner out, subtly examining the aliens around them. "Depends on your level," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Nicole Brooks, their medical officer, talking with a small blue creature that looked like a walking octopus. "This is Kelvar. He's explaining how things work here." The creature waved a tentacle in greeting. "The collective uses a ranking system. Level 1 is basic space travel. Level 10 is control over reality itself. Most species here are level 2 or 3 when found. The collective averages level 6 and 7. "What level are we?" Jake asked. Kelvar made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You're in ships that use chemical rockets and metal hulls. You're level 1. Maybe." Ryan looked offended. "Our ship uses quantum stasis and—" "Old technology," Kelvar interrupted. "Very old. The collective had that 800,000 years ago. You're primitives by current standards." Before Ryan could argue, a door opened. Several officials entered, led by the same crystal being from the transmission. "Humans, follow me. Your evaluation begins now." They were taken to a testing chamber. For hours, they answered questions, solved puzzles, and demonstrated their technology. The aliens took samples, scanned their bodies, and made them perform physical tasks. Through it all, the crystal being watched with an expression that was hard to read. Kevin Torres, their historian, was brought in later. He had spent the time in the holding area studying the station's public archives. His face was pale when he entered. "Commander, I found something," Kevin said urgently. "About Earth. About what happened to humanity." The crystal being tilted its head. "Yes, the human homeworld. It was destroyed in a supernova event approximately 800,000 years ago. The entire species was presumed lost." "That's not true," Kevin said. "I read the full report. Earth didn't blow up. Humanity just disappeared. Every human, every city, every ship, all gone in a single day. No one knows what happened." Lisa stopped what she was doing. "They just vanished?" "According to these records, yes. Humanity was a level 8 civilization at the time. They were among the most advanced species in the galaxy. Then one day they were just gone. The collective has been studying the mystery for hundreds of thousands of years." The crystal being moved closer. "This is accurate. Your species reached heights that few others have achieved, and then they abandoned the physical universe entirely. Most theories suggest they transcended to a higher dimension." Jake felt dizzy. "So there were other humans? Advanced humans?" "Millions of them, across thousands of worlds," the crystal being confirmed. "And now you appear, a small group of primitives from the exact moment before the Great Disappearance. You're like ghosts from the past." The testing continued for days. Jake and his crew were poked, prodded, and questioned endlessly. But something strange began to happen. The aliens started acting confused. Nicole noticed it first. "Lisa, look at these results," she said, showing her medical scanner. "Our biology is completely different from every other species here, not just a little different, fundamentally different." Lisa examined the data. "You're right. Every alien species here has been genetically modified. Their DNA has been optimized for efficiency, tailored for specific tasks. But humans are natural," Nicole finished. "Completely natural. No modifications, no optimization. We're chaotic and random at the genetic level." Ryan had made a similar discovery with their technology tests. "They asked me to repair a broken device," he told Jake. "I fixed it using a method they'd never considered. The examiner said it shouldn't work according to their physics, but it does work." "What did you do differently?" Jake asked. "I didn't follow their rules. I just tried things until something worked. They called it inefficient, but I was done in half the time it would have taken them." More stories came in from the other humans. Brandon Swift, their pilot, had outperformed alien pilots with centuries of experience. Melissa Price had decoded an alien language by finding patterns the aliens themselves had never noticed. Danny Ward, a young engineer, had jury-rigged a tool that the aliens said violated 3 laws of physics. The crystal being called a meeting with the human leaders. Its expression was troubled. "We have completed your evaluation," it said. "The results are problematic." "What level are we?" Jake asked. "Level 1 as expected. Your technology is primitive, your biology is unmodified, your knowledge is ancient. By every metric, you should be assigned to basic labor roles in the collective." "But," Greg sensed there was more. "But you demonstrate abilities that shouldn't exist in primitive species. You adapt faster than you should. You solve problems in ways that shouldn't work. You learn with impossible speed." The crystal being paused. "You're unpredictable, and unpredictability is dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Lisa asked. Another alien stepped forward, the one with 6 eyes. "The collective values order and efficiency. Every species has its place. Every being knows its role. But humans don't fit. You're chaotic, creative. You break patterns." "Is that bad?" Amy asked quietly. "For you, yes. the six-eyed alien said. The Collective Council has made a decision. Humanity cannot be integrated into our society. You're too unstable, too unpredictable. You will be placed in permanent containment until we can determine what to do with you. Jake stood up. You can't imprison 5,000 people just because we think differently. We can, and we will, the crystal being said. It's already decided. Tomorrow, you'll be transferred to a containment facility. There, you'll remain indefinitely. That night, in their holding cell, the human leaders gathered secretly. Greg had been mapping the station's layout. Ryan had been studying its security systems. They all knew what had to happen. We're breaking out, Jake said simply. All of us, 5,000 people. That's impossible, Amy said. This station has thousands of guards and weapons we can't even understand. But they don't understand us, Greg countered. They think we're primitive. They think we're predictable. That's our advantage. Lisa nodded slowly. They've spent so long optimizing themselves that they've forgotten how to improvise. But that's what humans do best. Kevin pulled up the data he'd collected. There's something else. Before ancient humanity disappeared, they left behind archives. Secret ones. I found references to something called the Archive of the Ancients. If we could find it, we'd find out what happened to our people, Jake finished, and maybe find help. Ryan was already working on a plan. I can override their security, not with skill but with sheer randomness. Their systems are too logical. They can't predict illogical actions. When do we go? Greg asked. Jake looked at his crew. They were tired, scared, and completely outmatched. But they were human, and humans didn't give up. Tomorrow, Jake said. Right before they transfer us, we'll show this galaxy what humanity can do. The alarm started exactly as Ryan predicted. He had spent all night studying the station's patterns, and he knew the guards changed shifts at dawn. That was when they would move. Greg had organized teams throughout the holding areas. Every human knew their role. When Ryan triggered the door locks to malfunction, chaos erupted across the entire station. Go, go, go! Greg shouted as doors slid open all at once. The guards were confused. Their systems told them the doors were locked, but clearly they weren't. They rushed to contain the situation, following their protocols exactly as they'd been trained. That was their mistake. Humans didn't follow protocols. While guards rushed to the main holding area, Jake led a team in the opposite direction toward the docking bay. Danny Ward ran ahead, his hands flying over alien control panels. He didn't understand the language, but he understood patterns. He pressed buttons in sequences that made no logical sense. That shouldn't work, an alien technician said, watching in horror as blast doors opened for the humans. Good thing we don't know that, Danny replied, running past. Brandon Swift reached the docking bay first. Rows of ships sat in neat lines, all different shapes and sizes. He chose the nearest patrol vessel, a sleek craft with weapons mounted on its wings. Can you fly that? Jake asked, catching up. I've never even seen it before, Brandon admitted. But how hard can it be? Very hard, as it turned out. The controls were completely alien. But Brandon didn't try to understand them properly. He just started pressing things and pulling levers. The ship lurched, spun, and nearly crashed twice, but it flew. This is insane, Amy shouted from the co-pilot's seat. You're going to kill us! Probably, Brandon agreed cheerfully, yanking the ship sideways to avoid a support beam. More humans poured into the docking bay. Greg was directing traffic, getting people onto any ship they could access. Some aliens tried to stop them, but the humans had numbers and desperation on their side. Lisa and Nicole were helping injured humans onto a cargo vessel. Ryan was already inside, ripping panels off the walls to access the ship's systems. I can't read this language, Ryan shouted in frustration. Then don't read it, Melissa Price said, climbing aboard. Look at the shapes. Look at the colors. Everything means something, even if we don't know what. She was right. After 8 hours of study, Melissa had started recognizing patterns in alien writing. Not words, but concepts. Energy flowed toward red symbols. Blue meant cooling. Green was navigation. "Try the green panel," she suggested. Ryan pressed it. The engines roared to life. The crystal being appeared on every screen in the docking bay. "Stop immediately! You're making a grave mistake!" Jake stood on the ramp of their stolen patrol ship. "The grave mistake was thinking you could cage us. Humans don't do well in cages." "Where will you go? You have no home, no allies. The entire collective will hunt you." "Then we'll have to be creative," Jake replied. "That's what we do." The ships launched in a chaotic swarm. Some pilots were good, others were terrible, but they all got into space. Station security scrambled to respond, but the humans had created too much confusion. Ships were going in every direction. "All vessels, follow me," Jake commanded over the comm. "Stay close and—" Weapons fire lit up space. Collective patrol ships were in pursuit. "Evasive maneuvers," Amy shouted unnecessarily. Brandon was already spinning and diving in patterns that made no tactical sense but somehow kept them alive. "They're predicting our movements," Greg reported from weapons control. "They have targeting computers calculating where we'll go." "Then don't go where we'll go," Jake said. "Brandon, fly wrong." "I don't understand." "Do things that don't make sense. Fly like you've never flown before." Brandon grinned. "Oh, I can do that." He sent the ship into a corkscrew that violated several laws of physics. Then he cut the engines and let momentum carry them backward while spinning. The collective ships couldn't track them because their computers couldn't predict insanity. Other human pilots caught on. Ships zigzagged wildly through space. Some flew upside down. Others went in circles. It looked like complete chaos, and it was. But chaos was hard to shoot. "We can't keep this up forever," Lisa warned. "We need a destination." Kevin had been studying the data he'd stolen from the station archives. "I have coordinates. The archive of the ancients. It's hidden in something called a quantum fold, whatever that means." "Send them to all ships," Jake ordered. Ryan was frantically working on the ship's systems. "I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing go faster. There's so much power in these engines that we're not using." "Why not?" Jake asked. "Safety protocols. The ship won't let me access full power because it might damage the engines." "Damage them?" Ryan looked shocked. "Commander, that could destroy the ship. Or it could save us. Their ships follow safety rules. Ours won't. Do it." Ryan disabled every safety system he could find. Warning lights turned the cockpit red. Alarms screamed. The ship's computer actually tried to lock him out, but he just ripped out the control chip. The engines roared with power they were never meant to use. The ship shot forward so fast that everyone was pressed back in their seats. "It's working!" Amy gasped. "We're pulling ahead!" Behind them, the collective ships maintained their safe speeds. They were faster than the human ship should be, but not faster than a human ship with no safety limits. More human vessels copied the trick. Soon, the entire ragtag fleet was screaming through space at dangerous speeds, leaving the confused collective far behind. "I'm picking up something," Melissa said, studying her console. "It's a signal, very faint, old, really old." "That's it," Kevin confirmed. "That's the archive. Follow that signal." They flew for hours, always pushing the ships beyond their limits. Several vessels developed problems. Engines overheated, systems failed, but humans were good at fixing things with whatever was available. Danny used his belt to repair a coolant leak. Another engineer fixed a navigation computer with chewing gum and wire. The collective would never have tried such repairs. They would have followed proper procedures and failed. Humans just made it work. Finally, they reached the coordinates. Empty space stretched in all directions. "There's nothing here," Amy said, confused. "There is," Kevin insisted. "The records say it's hidden in a quantum fold. We just can't see it." Ryan had an idea. What if we try every frequency? Just scan everything at once. That'll burn out our sensors, Lisa warned. Got a better idea? They did it anyway. The sensors lit up, smoking and sparking. But for one moment, they saw it. A massive structure, larger than a moon, phasing in and out of reality. That's impossible, Amy whispered. For them, maybe, Jake said. Melissa, send this frequency to all ships. Everyone, we're going in. One by one, the human ships adjusted their sensors to match the right frequency. The hidden structure became visible, a vast archive floating in its own pocket of space. Ancient human technology, waiting for 800,000 years. As they approached, a voice echoed through their communications. It wasn't alien, it was human, recorded long ago but perfectly clear. Welcome home, the voice said. We've been waiting for you. Jake looked at his crew. They had escaped the impossible, stolen alien ships and flown them better than their creators ever could. They had found a treasure that had been lost for longer than human civilization had existed. All ships, Jake announced. We're going inside. Let's find out what our ancestors left for us. The massive doors of the archive began to open, revealing lights and corridors within. The humans flew their stolen, damaged, barely functioning ships inside, bringing humanity home after an absence that had lasted for the entire rise and fall of civilizations. Behind them, the collective fleet arrived too late. They watched in shock as the primitive species entered the archive and the doors sealed shut behind them, protected by technology even the collective couldn't break. The inside of the archive was breathtaking. Corridors stretched into infinity, walls glowing with soft light. Holographic displays showed star systems, equations, and images of humans who had lived and died hundreds of thousands of years ago. Jake led a team deeper into the structure while others stayed to repair their damaged ships. Every step felt sacred, like walking through a cathedral dedicated to a lost civilization. This place is enormous, Claire Hudson whispered. She was their xenoanthropologist, and her eyes were wide with wonder. It would take lifetimes to explore it all. We might not have lifetimes, Greg reminded her. The collective is outside. They'll find a way in eventually. Pete Sanders, their systems analyst, was already interfacing with the archive's computer systems. Surprisingly, they responded to him immediately. It recognizes our DNA, he said. The whole place was designed to activate when humans returned. A hologram appeared before them. It was a woman, tall and elegant, wearing clothing that looked both ancient and futuristic. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of ages. I am the Keeper, the hologram said. I have maintained this archive for 800,000 years, waiting for humanity to return. You are not the humans who built this place, but you are human nonetheless. Welcome. What is this place? Jake asked. A library, a museum, a warning. The Keeper gestured, and images filled the air around them. When humanity reached level 8 civilization, we controlled matter and energy. We could reshape worlds, travel faster than light, and touch the fabric of reality itself. We were powerful beyond measure. Lisa watched the images of massive human cities on alien worlds, ships that dwarfed moons, and technology that seemed like magic. But power brought knowledge, the Keeper continued, and knowledge brought terror. We discovered that the universe was dying faster than we thought. The heat death was accelerating. All life would end, sooner than anyone expected. So you ran, Victor Kane said. He was a former corporate strategist, and he understood decisions made from fear. You transcended to escape death. We did. Most of humanity uploaded our consciousness into a higher dimension where physics work differently, where time doesn't corrode and entropy doesn't win. We left this universe behind. But not all of you, Kevin guessed. No. Some refused. They saw transcendence as death by another name. They wanted to remain human, flesh and blood, even if it meant dying eventually. So they created the horizon's edge and sent it out as a backup. If transcendence failed, if we made a mistake, at least some humans would survive. Jake felt the weight of that responsibility. We're the backup, the last natural humans in the universe. Yes, and you're needed now more than ever. The Keeper's expression grew serious. We discovered something else before we left, something that explained too much. The hologram changed, showing images of hundreds of alien species. All the other intelligent species in this galaxy were designed, seeded, created by beings we called the architects. Created? Amy asked. You mean they're not natural? No. The architects came from outside this galaxy millions of years ago. They seeded hundreds of worlds with life, then shaped that life into intelligent beings. Each species was designed for a specific purpose. The crystalline beings for computation, the six-eyed ones for pattern recognition, all of them perfect tools. Claire understood immediately. But humans weren't designed. We evolved naturally. Correct. Earth was beyond the architect's influence. Humanity arose by chance, by chaos, by the random mutation and selection of natural evolution. You were never supposed to exist. And that makes us different how? Greg asked. The Keeper smiled sadly. Designed species are predictable. They're optimized for their purpose, but limited by their design. They can't truly adapt because adaptation requires randomness, mutation, error, things their creators removed from their genetic code. But humans have all that chaos, Lisa said softly. All those flaws and random mutations. Exactly. Humans can adapt, can learn, can create in ways designed species cannot. Ancient humanity discovered this truth and realized its importance, because we also discovered that the architects were coming back. Silence fell over the group. Coming back for what? Jake asked. To recalibrate their experiment. They do this every few million years. They check on their designed species, adjust what isn't working, and eliminate what they consider failures. The last recalibration happened 3 million years ago. The next one is imminent. Samantha Lee, their quantum physicist, stepped forward. How can you know it's imminent after all this time? Because we detected their ships entering the galaxy. That was 5 years before we transcended. We left warnings in this archive. We left technology. We left everything you would need to survive what's coming. Pete's console beeped urgently. I'm detecting something. The archive's long-range sensors are showing massive energy signatures appearing at the galactic core. The Keeper nodded. They're here. The architects have returned. Victor was already thinking strategically. This archive, the technology here, can we use it? Can we become as powerful as ancient humanity was? Yes, the Keeper said. I can activate the Ascension Protocol. It will upgrade your biology, enhance your minds, and give you access to all our technology. You would become level 8 immediately. There's a catch, Jake said. There's always a catch. The process requires optimization. Your genetic code would be refined, perfected, made efficient. You would gain incredible power. The Keeper paused. But you would lose what makes you human. The chaos, the randomness, the flaws. You would become like the other designed species. Predictable. Limited. Lisa pulled up the genetic data on her scanner. It's true. Look at this. The process would remove all the junk DNA, all the redundant systems, all the inefficient mutations. We'd be perfect. And perfectly controllable by the architects, Claire added. Troy Mitchell, their tactical officer, had been quietly studying the data. There's another option, he said. We don't use the technology to become powerful. We use it to stay human, fight the architects as we are. That's suicide, Victor argued. They're reality-warping beings from beyond our dimension. We're Level 1 primitives. Level 1 primitives who escaped the collective, Greg countered. Level 1 primitives who flew stolen ships better than their designers. Level 1 primitives who found this place when the entire galaxy said it was impossible. Jake looked at the Keeper. The ancient humans. Why didn't they fight? Why did they run? Because we were afraid, the Keeper admitted. We had become so powerful that we forgot how to adapt. We could reshape matter, but we couldn't imagine new solutions. We had optimized ourselves so much that we'd lost the one thing that made humanity special. The chaos, Jake said. Yes. By the time we realized what we'd lost, it was too late. We could only run. The Keeper looked at each of them in turn. But you still have it, that spark of true creativity, that ability to try things that shouldn't work, to find solutions no logical mind would consider. Samantha was reading through the technical data. The architect's technology is based on quantum manipulation. They control reality by controlling probabilities. They make the impossible probable and the probable impossible. So how do we fight that? Amy asked. By being unpredictable, Samantha replied. By doing things that have such low probability that they're not even on the architect's radar, things so crazy that no sane being would attempt them. Jake made his decision. We don't take the upgrade. We stay human. We stay flawed, chaotic, and unpredictable. Commander, Victor protested. That's insane? Yes. Illogical? Absolutely. Impossible? Probably. Jake smiled. But that's exactly why it might work. The architects expect designed species to behave in designed ways. They expect power to fight power, logic to fight logic. They don't expect primitives to challenge reality-warping beings with nothing but stubborn human creativity. The Keeper watched them with something like hope. Ancient humanity ran because we were too advanced to take the risk. But you, she smiled. You're just human enough to try. Alex Rivera, their diplomat, stepped forward. If we're doing this, we need to contact the architects, establish communication, let them know humanity is back. And that we're not going anywhere, Greg added. Pete began downloading all the archive's data on the architects. I've got their quantum signature. We can use it to send a message they'll receive. Jake stood tall, looking at his crew. All right, let's introduce ourselves. Let's show the architects what 868,000 years of sleep did to humanity. We woke up late to the party, but we're here now. And humans have never been good at following someone else's rules. The architects arrived at the galactic core like gods descending from heaven. They weren't ships or beings in any normal sense. They were structures of pure energy that bent space around them. Creatures that existed in dimensions humans could barely perceive. The collective sent their entire fleet to meet them. Thousands of advanced warships, weapons that could destroy stars, shields that could deflect any attack. It didn't matter. The architects simply looked at the fleet, and half the ships stopped working. They didn't explode or get damaged. They just stopped being ships and became something else. Rocks, gas, light. The architects were rewriting reality itself. Jake watched from the archive, seeing the feeds that Pete had tapped into. They're not fighting, he observed. They're just changing the rules. That's what they do, the Keeper explained. They control quantum probability. They make things that are real become unreal. Things that are impossible become certain. Fighting them with weapons is like fighting the ocean with a sword. Good thing we're not using weapons, Troy said. He had been working on strategies for 3 days straight, and his plan was completely insane. The message went out across all frequencies, using the quantum signature Pete had found. It reached the architects instantly. Hello, Alex said into the recorder. My name is Alex Rivera. I represent humanity. We know you don't remember us. We're the species you didn't design, the mistake, the accident. We just wanted to let you know that we're back, and we'd like to talk." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then space itself rippled, and an architect appeared near the archive. It was beautiful and terrible, a being made of light and mathematics, existing in more dimensions than 3. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in their minds. "Humanity, the undesigned ones, we thought you had fled beyond our reach." "Most of us did," Jake replied, "but some of us stayed, and we're still here." "Interesting," the architect said. Its attention felt like being studied under a microscope by something infinitely vast. "Your species should not exist. You are a flaw in the design, an error we failed to correct." "We know," Lisa said. "You designed all the other species, made them perfect, made them efficient, made them predictable. We made them purposeful. Each species fulfills its role. The galaxy functions as intended." "Except it doesn't," Samantha interrupted. "The galaxy has stagnated. Your designed species can't adapt, can't grow, can't create anything truly new. They're stuck in the patterns you gave them." The architect's attention sharpened. "You dare criticize our work?" "We dare a lot of things," Greg said with a grin. "It's kind of our specialty." Claire stepped forward, her voice calm. "You created species to solve problems, but you made them too perfect, too optimized. Real growth requires mistakes, failures, random mutations, things you designed out of them." "Chaos is inefficient," the architect stated. "Chaos is creative," Claire countered. "Humans evolved naturally. We're full of flaws and contradictions. We do things wrong. We fail constantly. But every failure teaches us something new. Every mistake opens new possibilities." The architect was silent for a moment. "You are primitives. Level 1. You have nothing we need." "We have something you've never seen before," Jake said. "Watch." Troy activated his plan. Around the galaxy, human teams that had been positioned using the archive's ancient technology began their work. They weren't attacking the architects. That would be pointless. Instead, they were solving problems the collective had struggled with for millennia. Brandon took a broken collective ship that had been disabled by the architects and fixed it using methods that violated every rule of engineering. He combined human ingenuity with alien technology in ways that shouldn't work, but did. Danny created a shield that protected against the architect's reality warping by being too chaotic to target. It flickered randomly, changed frequency without pattern, and operated on principles that were mathematically impossible but physically real. Melissa cracked the architect's own communication network by finding patterns they didn't know existed in their own language. She did it not through advanced computers, but through intuitive leaps that no designed mind would make. The architect watched, and for the first time, something like curiosity entered its presence. "How are you doing this? Your technology is primitive. Your understanding is limited." "We don't understand it," Ryan admitted. "We just try things. We guess. We experiment. Sometimes we're wrong. But when we're right, we create something that's never existed before." More reports came in. Human teams were appearing across the galaxy, helping species the architects had deemed failures. A species that couldn't adapt to climate change learned new techniques from humans who thought outside their environmental limitations. A civilization stuck in endless war found peace through diplomatic methods no logical species would consider. "You're showing us alternatives," the architect said slowly, "demonstrating possibilities we never calculated." "Because you can't calculate chaos," Samantha explained. "You control probability, but human creativity isn't about probability. It's about trying impossible things until they become possible." Victor added his strategic view. "You designed species to be tools, but tools can't improve themselves. They can only do what they're designed for. Humans aren't tools. We're agents of change. We adapt. We evolve. We surprise even ourselves." Another architect appeared, then another. They were discussing something in frequencies humans couldn't hear. Finally, the first one spoke again. You present a problem. You are too primitive to be a threat, yet you demonstrate abilities our designed species lack. You should not be effective, yet you are. That's because effectiveness isn't about having the best tools, Jake said. It's about knowing when to break the rules. Breaking rules creates chaos. Breaking rules creates progress, Lisa countered. Every major advancement in human history came from someone who did something they weren't supposed to do, someone who tried the impossible and made it real. The architects conferred again. The discussion seemed to stretch for hours, though only minutes passed. Finally, they reached a conclusion. We have been conducting our experiment for 10 million years, the lead architect said. We have refined, optimized, and perfected. Yet your chaotic, unoptimized species has shown us something we never predicted. You have demonstrated the value of imperfection. So you're not going to eliminate us? Amy asked hopefully. No. We propose something different. A new experiment. The architect's presence expanded, and somehow Jake knew it was addressing the entire galaxy. Humanity will be designated Level 10 civilization. Shock rippled through the collective forces still watching. Not because of your technology, the architect clarified, but because you possess something rarer than power. You have unlimited potential. You are unfinished, unoptimized, imperfect, and therefore capable of infinite growth. What does that mean practically? Victor asked, always the strategist. It means humanity will spread throughout the galaxy. You will live among our designed species. You will introduce chaos where there is stagnation, creativity where there is routine, possibility where there is limitation. You want us to be the wild card, Greg said with a laugh. The random element in your grand design. Precisely. You will be our correction factor, the undesigned element that keeps the design from becoming stagnant. Alex stepped forward. And if we refuse? If we just want to be left alone? The architect actually seemed amused. You won't refuse. Humans don't refuse challenges. You see a locked door and immediately want to know what's behind it. You see a rule and wonder what happens if you break it. You encounter the impossible and treat it as an invitation. Jake had to smile. You understand us pretty well for a being made of math and energy. We have been observing you since you entered the galaxy. You fascinate us. You frustrate us. You confuse us. And that is precisely why you're valuable. The architect began to fade. We will withdraw our recalibration. The galaxy will continue as it is, with one addition. Humanity. Wait, Samantha called out. What happened to the other humans, the ones who transcended? They are beyond our reach, existing in dimensions where we cannot follow. Perhaps that was their purpose all along, to escape the design entirely. The architect's presence grew faint. But you chose differently. You chose to stay human. That choice may be more important than they ever knew. The architects vanished, returning to whatever place they came from. Throughout the galaxy, their ships withdrew. The collective forces stood down, confused but alive. The crystal being contacted the archive. Commander Morrison, the Collective Council wishes to speak with you. Tell them we'll be there, Jake said. But we're coming as equals, not prisoners. Understood. Humanity has been recognized as Level 10. You have our respect. The crystal being paused. Though I still don't understand how you did it. Neither do we, Jake admitted. That's kind of the point. In the weeks that followed, humans spread throughout the galaxy. The Horizon's Edge became the flagship of a new human expansion. The archive provided technology, not to make humans powerful, but to give them the tools to reach the stars. Nicole opened medical centers that approached healing from perspectives alien doctors had never considered. Danny started teaching engineering courses where students were encouraged to break things to learn how they worked. Claire wrote papers on cultural diversity that challenged thousands of years of collective thinking. Jake stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, looking out at a galaxy full of possibilities. Lisa joined him, holding a data pad with reports from human teams across hundreds of worlds. "They're calling us troublemakers," she said with a smile. "Chaos agents. Disruptors." "Are they wrong?" Jake asked. "No, but they're also calling us teachers, innovators, friends." She showed him a message from Kelvar, the small blue alien they'd met in processing. He was learning human cooking and had just opened the galaxy's first pizza restaurant. Greg walked up, grinning. "You know what's funny? We set out to find a new home for humanity. We slept through most of history. We woke up as primitives in an advanced galaxy. And somehow, we ended up changing everything." "Not changing," Jake corrected. "Just reminding everyone what they forgot. That progress requires mistakes. That growth requires chaos. That the best solutions often come from trying things that shouldn't work." Amy called from navigation. "Commander, we're getting requests from 17 different systems. They all want human advisors, teachers, or just someone to come show them a different way to do things." "Send acceptances to all of them," Jake ordered. "We've got 5,000 people in an entire galaxy that just rediscovered curiosity. Let's see what happens." As the horizon's edge jumped to its first destination, Jake made a final log entry. "To whoever finds this recording, humanity almost ended 868,000 years ago. We could have transcended, becoming perfect beings of pure thought. Or we could have upgraded ourselves with ancient technology, becoming powerful but predictable. Instead, we chose to stay human, flawed, chaotic, unpredictable. And that choice saved not just us, but an entire galaxy that had forgotten how to dream. The universe doesn't need more perfection. It needs more humanity. And now, finally, it has both." He closed the log and smiled. Somewhere in a higher dimension, ancient humans who had transcended were probably watching. Maybe they were proud. Maybe they were laughing at the chaos their backup plan had created. Either way, humanity was back, and the galaxy would never be the same.